Christmas morning at my parents' suburban Philadelphia house. Mom serves her famous blueberry pancakes, while Dad fidgets with his coffee mug. The tree lights twinkle, presents scattered beneath. Then Mom drops the bombshell. "We sold your empty house in Georgetown, Kerry. You never use it anyway." Dad grins, pulling out a thick envelope of cash. "Got 60,000 above asking price." I freeze coffee halfway to my lips. Outside, 3 black SUVs pull into their driveway. Men in suits step out, badges gleaming. My blood turns to ice. They found out. The pancakes turn to ash in my mouth as I stare at my parents across their familiar kitchen table. Mom continues chattering excitedly about the sale, while Dad counts crisp, $100 bills with satisfaction. The Christmas tree ornaments reflect the morning sunlight streaming through their lace curtains, creating dancing patterns on the hardwood floor I helped install 15 years ago. Janet from down the street handled everything. Mom explains, gesturing toward the window overlooking their neighbor's colonial house. She got her real estate license last year and needed practice. Such a sweet woman. She said the house was perfect for a young professional couple. My father leans back in his creaky wooden chair, the same one he's occupied every morning for 30 years. His weathered hands, scarred from decades of construction work, spread the money across their checkered tablecloth, like a poker player showing a winning hand. Buyers paid cash, Kerry. No inspection, no hassle. Janet said she'd never seen anything like it. They wrote the check the same day they walked through. Dad's voice carries the satisfaction of a man who believes he's solved a problem that's been bothering him for years. The doorbell rings, cutting through the holiday atmosphere like a blade. My heart hammers against my ribs as footsteps approach their front door. Dad pushes back from the table, muttering about visitors interrupting Christmas breakfast. Mom calls after him to invite whoever it is inside for coffee and her special holiday bread. I remain frozen at the table, watching through the archway as Dad opens the door. 2 figures in dark suits stand on the welcome mat Mom placed there last week, decorated with cheerful snowmen and candy canes. The contrast between the festive decorations and their official bearing creates a surreal moment that burns itself into my memory. "Mr. Sullivan, Mrs. Sullivan." The taller man's voice carries the authority of someone accustomed to being taken seriously. "I'm Agent Williams with the State Department. This is Agent Rodriguez. We need to speak with you about a property sale that occurred this week." Dad's confusion is evident as he steps aside, allowing the agents into their living room. Mom appears from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her Christmas apron, her face bright with hospitality that quickly dims as she registers the serious expressions of their unexpected guests. "Is everything all right? Has something happened to Kerry?" Mom's maternal instincts immediately jump to the worst possible scenarios. Her eyes find mine across the room, searching for reassurance I cannot provide. Agent Williams produces his credentials, a leather folder containing official identification and badges that catch the light from their Christmas tree. "Mrs. Sullivan, we're here about a property located at 427 Prospect Street in Georgetown. Our records indicate this residence was sold on December 20th without proper authorization." The words hang in the air like smoke from a fire nobody noticed starting. Dad's face transitions from confusion to defensive anger, his jaw setting in the stubborn way I remember from childhood arguments about curfew and grades. "Now hold on a minute. That house belongs to our son. We had every right to sell it. Kerry hasn't lived there in 3 years. Place was sitting empty, wasting money on taxes and utilities." Dad crosses his arms over his flannel shirt, the one Mom bought him last Christmas, with tiny reindeer patterns. Mom moves closer to her husband, presenting a united front, despite her obvious anxiety. "We were trying to help Kerry. The house was just sitting there, and we thought he could use the money for something more practical." I finally find my voice, though it emerges as barely more than a whisper. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk about this. There are things about that house you don't understand." Agent Rodriguez speaks for the first time, his tone gentle but firm. "Mr. Kerry Sullivan, I presume we need to discuss the nature of this property and the implications of its unauthorized transfer." The room falls silent, except for the gentle humming of their refrigerator and the distant sound of neighbors starting their cars to visit relatives. I realize this moment will forever divide my family's life into before and after. Before the truth, and after everything changed. The property in question is classified as a protected government facility. Agent Williams continues. The sale must be immediately reversed, and all parties involved will need to cooperate with a federal investigation. Mom sinks onto their floral couch, the one she reupholstered herself 5 years ago. The same couch where she read me bedtime stories and where Dad taught me to tie my shoes. Now it becomes the place where my carefully constructed world begins to crumble. Federal investigation. Dad's voice rises. What are you talking about? Janet handled everything legally. We have all the paperwork. I close my eyes, knowing I must begin revealing pieces of a truth I've hidden for years. Dad, my work isn't what I told you. The consulting job, the travel, the reason I never used the Georgetown house. It's all connected to something I couldn't explain before now. Agent Williams nods at me, understanding passing between us. Mr. Sullivan, your son works for the State Department's Diplomatic Security Service. The residence you sold serves as a secure facility for sensitive government operations. The confession hits my parents like cold water. Mom's hand flies to her mouth while Dad stares at me, as though seeing a stranger wearing his son's face. Years of careful deception unravel in seconds, leaving raw honesty where comfortable lies once lived. You're a spy, Mom whispers through her fingers. Not exactly. I protect diplomats' secure facilities, handle threats against American officials overseas. I meet their stunned gazes. The Georgetown house isn't my home. It's a safe house for visiting foreign dignitaries and classified operations. Dad slumps into his recliner, the leather chair groaning under his weight. Why didn't you tell us? Security protocols. The fewer people who knew, the safer everyone stayed, including both of you. Agent Rodriguez checks his watch, a practical gesture that reminds us time is running short. We have 24 hours to resolve this situation before federal prosecutors become involved. The buyers must be contacted immediately, the transaction reversed, and all documentation sealed under national security protocols. My parents exchange glances filled with 35 years of shared communication. The look that passes between them contains love, fear, regret, and a dawning understanding of how catastrophically they've misunderstood their son's life. What happens if we can't fix this? Mom asks, her voice barely audible. Agent Williams' expression remains professional, but not unkind. Best case scenario, the sale is quietly reversed, and this remains a minor security incident. Worst case charges could include inadvertent espionage, compromising national security, and federal conspiracy violations. The Christmas tree lights continue their cheerful blinking, but the magic has drained from the morning. My parents' faces reflect the weight of consequences they never imagined possible when they signed those papers 3 days ago. I drive to Janet's house immediately after the agents leave, my parents following in their sedan. The 3 blocks feel like traveling through a different neighborhood entirely, every familiar landmark now carrying the weight of potential catastrophe. Janet's white picket fence and perfectly maintained garden seem almost mockingly normal against the chaos exploding around us. Janet answers her door, wearing a festive red sweater, with embroidered holly leaves, her silver hair curled in the style she's maintained since the 80s. Her welcoming smile fades instantly when she sees our expressions and the official documentation Agent Williams provided. Oh my goodness, is everything okay? She steps onto her porch, pulling a cardigan over her shoulders against the December cold. Kerry, your parents told me you'd be thrilled about the sale. The buyers were so excited to find such a perfect property. I hand her the State Department paperwork explaining the situation. Her eyes widen as she reads, her hand trembling slightly. Protected government property. But Kerry, you told your parents it was just your personal residence. I couldn't explain the real situation, Janet. Security requirements. I keep my voice gentle, remembering how she brought casseroles when my grandmother passed, and always remembered my birthday with homemade cookies. I need to know everything about these buyers, every detail you can remember. She invites us into her living room decorated with enough Christmas villages to populate a small city. Her coffee table holds stacks of real estate magazines and a laptop computer that looks barely used. The contrast between her grandmother's doilies and modern technology creates an endearing picture of someone bridging two different worlds. The buyer contacted me directly, which was unusual. Most clients come through referrals or online listings. Janet retrieves a manila folder from her desk. Marcus Chen, representing Heritage Acquisitions LLC. Very polite professional. He said they specialized in investment properties for overseas clients. My training immediately recognizes the red flags. Cash purchases, no inspection, foreign investment shell company. The pattern screams, intelligence operation, not legitimate real estate transaction. Did he seem interested in the house specifically, or just any available property? I asked, dreading the answer. Oh, definitely your house specifically. He mentioned the Georgetown location was perfect for their needs. Something about proximity to government buildings and transportation. Janet flips through her notes. He knew details about the property I hadn't even mentioned in any advertisements. Dad leans forward from Mom's floral armchair. What kind of details? The security system specifications, the basement layout, even the fact that it had reinforced walls in certain areas. I thought maybe he'd driven by and done research online. Janet's voice grows smaller as she realizes the implications of what she's describing. I run a quick background check using my security clearance, while Janet makes coffee none of us really want. The database search confirms my worst fears. Marcus Chen is a fabricated identity. Heritage Acquisitions LLC traces back through 3 shell companies to a foreign investment firm flagged by multiple intelligence agencies. Janet, I need you to think carefully. Did Marcus Chen mention anything about timelines? Any reason why the sale needed to happen immediately? I close my laptop, my stomach churning with the implications. He said they wanted to close before the holidays for tax purposes. Offered $20,000 over asking price for a quick turnaround. She sets down coffee mugs with shaking hands. I thought I was doing everyone a favor. Mom takes Janet's hand across the coffee table. None of this is your fault. We're the ones who asked you to sell without asking Kerry first. But I know Janet's involvement goes deeper than innocent mistakes. I excuse myself to make a private call to headquarters, stepping onto her back porch, overlooking dormant flower beds and a snow-covered bird bath. This is Sullivan. I need an immediate trace on Heritage Acquisitions LLC and any associated properties or transactions in the past 6 months. I watch Dad through the kitchen window, his shoulders slumped with guilt and confusion. The response chills me to the bone. Sullivan Heritage Acquisitions has purchased 4 properties in the D.C. metro area this year. All previous owners had connections to State Department CIA or Defense Department personnel. This appears to be a systematic intelligence gathering operation. I hang up and return to find my parents and Janet in heated discussion about legal liability and financial responsibility. The mundane concerns seem almost quaint compared to the national security implications I'm beginning to understand. Kerry, your father wants to return the money immediately, Mom says. But Janet thinks we need lawyer involvement first. The money isn't our biggest problem anymore. I sit across from them, choosing my words carefully. I need to inspect the Georgetown house immediately. If these buyers are who I think they are, they've already begun compromising everything inside. I drive alone to Georgetown, leaving my parents with Janet to compile every document related to the sale. The familiar streets of my neighborhood seem foreign now. Every parked car, a potential surveillance vehicle. Every pedestrian, a possible threat. The townhouse looks unchanged from the outside, its red brick facade and black shutters maintaining the historical charm that makes Georgetown so desirable. But my trained eye immediately notices subtle differences. A new security camera disguised as a doorbell. fresh scratches around the lock mechanism, tire tracks in the narrow alley behind the property that don't match delivery vehicles. Using my override codes, I enter through the rear entrance and immediately understand the scope of the disaster. The house has been professionally swept for intelligence gathering. Tiny holes in the walls indicate microphone installations. Light fixtures have been replaced with versions containing recording equipment. Even the heating vents show signs of modification. My secure office in the basement reveals the true catastrophe. The hidden safe I thought only I knew about stands open, its contents scattered across my desk. Encrypted drives containing diplomatic schedules, security protocols, and communication frequencies lie exposed like surgical instruments abandoned mid-operation. But the worst discovery awaits in my bedroom closet. The false panel concealing classified documents has been carefully opened and resealed. Inside, I find a small device I don't recognize blinking with a subtle red light. I've been tagged for tracking. My phone buzzes with an encrypted text message from an unknown number. Thank you for the early Christmas present. Your family's cooperation has been noted. I photograph the evidence and call Agent Williams immediately. They've been inside for at least 12 hours. The house is completely compromised and they're tracking me now. His response confirms my worst fears. Sullivan, we've lost contact with 3 diplomatic assets overseas. Someone's been feeding their locations and schedules to hostile forces. The intelligence from your house is already being used against American interests. I stare at family photos on my mantelpiece, pictures of birthday parties and graduations, and quiet Sunday dinners. The same parents who raised me, taught me values, supported my dreams, have unknowingly become instruments in an attack against everything I've devoted my life to protecting. By the time I return to my parents' house, 3 additional federal vehicles line their quiet street. Neighbors peer through curtains and whisper on front porches, their Christmas decorations creating an absurd backdrop for what looks like a federal investigation, straight out of television dramas. Inside, I find my parents seated at their kitchen table across from Agent Williams, and 2 new faces I don't recognize. Mom clutches a tissue box while Dad stares at documents spread before them, like evidence in a criminal trial. Agent Williams introduces the newcomers. Agent Sarah Chen from Counterintelligence and Agent Michael Torres from the Office of Inspector General. This situation has escalated significantly in the past 2 hours. Agent Chen, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, addresses my parents directly. Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, we need you to understand the gravity of what's occurred. The information taken from your son's residence has already resulted in threats against American diplomatic personnel in 3 countries. Mom breaks down completely, her careful composure dissolving into gut-wrenching sobs. We just wanted to help. The house was empty, and we thought Kerry would appreciate having money instead of an unused property. For the first time, I realized the depth of my parents' financial struggles. Dad's work clothes, which I'd assumed were simply practical choices, show signs of careful mending and extended wear. Mom's jewelry, including her wedding ring, looks thinner than I remember, possibly resized due to weight loss from stress. Why didn't you tell me you were having money problems? I sit beside Mom, taking her hand and noticing how much thinner it feels than in my childhood memories. Dad's voice cracks when he finally speaks. Your mother wanted to. I said we shouldn't burden you with our troubles. You had important work traveling all the time. We figured we could handle our own problems. Agent Torres opens a thick folder, revealing financial documents I've never seen. Mr. Sullivan, can you explain why your construction business lost 6 major contracts in the past year? All clients cited concerns about reliability and completion schedules. Dad's face flushes with anger and embarrassment. Those clients lied. My crew finished every job on time and under budget. But somehow, stories started spreading about missed deadlines and shoddy work. Contractors I'd worked with for 20 years suddenly wouldn't return phone calls. Agent Chen exchanges glances with Agent Williams. Mr. Sullivan, those rumors weren't accidental. Someone systematically destroyed your business reputation as part of a longer operation targeting your son. The revelation hits our family like a physical blow. Mom gasps audibly, while Dad's face turns pale. You're saying someone deliberately ruined my business to get to Kerry? Intelligence operations often take years to develop. Creating financial pressure on family members is a standard technique for compromising government employees. Agent Chen's explanation carries the weight of someone who's seen this pattern before. I feel the walls of my careful compartmentalization crashing down. How long have you been watching our family? Agent Williams checks his notes. The first indicators appeared 8 months ago. Your father's business problems coincided with increased surveillance around your Georgetown residence. We should have connected the pattern sooner. Dad stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the tile floor. 8 months. You knew my business was being sabotaged and didn't tell us? We couldn't confirm hostile action without revealing Kerry's position. Counterintelligence requires balancing family protection with operational security. Agent Torres sounds genuinely regretful. Mom looks between us with growing understanding. Kerry, is this why you stopped visiting? Why you always seemed distracted when you called? I meet her eyes, knowing this conversation will change everything between us forever. I suspected something was wrong, but protocol required keeping you distanced from my work. I thought separation would protect you. Protect us. Dad's voice rises to near shouting. Your protection almost landed us in federal prison. Agent Chen interrupts before the argument can escalate. Mr. Sullivan, your family remains in danger. The operatives who purchased the house have demonstrated extensive knowledge of your personal lives. They may attempt to use you for leverage against Kerry. The kitchen falls silent, except for the humming of their ancient refrigerator and Mom's quiet sniffling. Outside, Christmas lights twinkle on houses where families are opening presents and enjoying normal holiday celebrations, unaware that their neighbors' lives are imploding. What kind of danger? Mom asks. Agent Torres answers with uncomfortable directness. Kidnapping for ransom blackmail, physical threats against Kerry's cooperation, standard intelligence leverage techniques. Dad sinks back into his chair, suddenly looking older than his 62 years. How did our lives become this complicated? Last week, our biggest problem was mortgage payments. I realize this moment requires complete honesty, regardless of security protocols. Dad, I've been lying to you for 5 years. Not just about my job, but about why I couldn't stay close to family. Every assignment, every trip overseas, every missed birthday and holiday happened because I thought keeping distance would keep you safe. Mom reaches across the table, covering my hand with both of hers. Oh, sweetheart, we thought you didn't care about us anymore. I care so much I made myself sick worrying about your safety. But I chose my career over family relationships, and now that choice has put you in exactly the danger I tried to prevent. Agent Williams receives a phone call that changes his expression from professional concern to genuine alarm. After ending the call, he addresses our family with new urgency. The operatives have made contact. They're offering an exchange. They'll return the classified materials and withdraw from American operations permanently in exchange for Kerry's cooperation as a double agent. The proposal hangs in the air like smoke from a fire nobody knows how to extinguish. I understand immediately what cooperation means betraying my country, my colleagues, everything I've sworn to protect. And if I refuse, I already know the answer. Agent Chen responds with the bluntness the situation demands. They've demonstrated they can reach your family despite our protection. Your parents' safety becomes an ongoing concern, requiring permanent relocation and new identities. Mom's hand tightens on mine. Kerry, what are you going to do? Agent Williams's phone rings again, pulling him into the hallway for another urgent conversation. Through the kitchen window, I watch additional vehicles arriving, including a van equipped with sophisticated communication equipment. My parents' quiet suburban street has become the center of an international intelligence crisis. When Agent Williams returns, his expression carries news that will reshape everything we thought we understood. Kerry, I need you to report to headquarters immediately. Director Hayes wants to brief you personally on the full scope of this operation. I look at my parents, understanding that leaving them now feels like abandonment, but having no choice. Will they be safe here? Agent Torres nods toward the window. U.S. Marshals are establishing a protective perimeter. Your parents will be relocated to a secure federal facility within the hour. The drive to State Department headquarters passes in a blur of familiar Washington streets that suddenly feel foreign and threatening. Every traffic light, every pedestrian crossing, every delivery truck becomes a potential security concern when you realize enemy operatives have been studying your life for months. Director Patricia Hayes greets me in a secure conference room deep within the building's classified levels. A woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp intelligence behind her glasses. She's guided my career for 3 years and knows my work better than anyone. Kerry, sit down. What I'm about to tell you will be difficult to process. She activates counter-surveillance measures that ensure our conversation remains completely private. Your cover was compromised 6 months ago during the Prague operation. The Prague assignment, where I protected a Romanian diplomat during sensitive negotiations with German officials. 3 days of meetings that I thought concluded successfully with all parties safely returned to their home countries. The Romanian contact was feeding information to hostile intelligence services. Not about the negotiations, but about you specifically. Your security protocols, your family background, your stateside residence assignments. Director Hayes slides classified photographs across the table. These surveillance photos were taken of you in Prague, but they focus on personal details rather than operational activities. I study the images, recognizing myself at the hotel, at restaurants, walking through city parks during downtime. But the angles and focus suggest someone more interested in my habits and personality than my professional activities. They've been building a psychological profile, haven't they? A comprehensive one. 6 months of surveillance designed to identify your vulnerabilities and pressure points. She opens another file. They know about your parents' financial struggles, your guilt over family separation, your dedication to protecting civilian lives. Director Hayes reveals the most chilling truth. This isn't random targeting or opportunistic intelligence gathering. I've been selected for a specific operation designed to turn me into a double agent through emotional manipulation rather than traditional coercion. The Georgetown house sale wasn't improvised. They've been monitoring your parents for months, waiting for the perfect moment to create a crisis that would force impossible choices. She shows me surveillance photos of my parents I've never seen. Dad leaving his failed job sites, mom at medical appointments I didn't know about. Medical appointments. My stomach drops. Your mother has been seeing specialists about chest pains and anxiety symptoms. The financial stress has been affecting her health significantly. Director Hayes' voice softens with genuine sympathy. They knew about her medical concerns before you did. I realize the enemy operatives understand my family dynamics better than I do. While I maintained professional distance to protect them, hostile intelligence services were documenting every detail of their struggles and vulnerabilities. How extensive is their surveillance network? Larger than we initially realized. Janet, the real estate agent, has been providing information to foreign contacts for 18 months. Not knowingly at first, but eventually accepting payment for details about neighborhood residents with government connections. The revelation about Janet stuns me. The woman who brought cookies to my grandmother's funeral and remembered my birthday every year has been compromised and turned into an intelligence asset. Director Hayes continues with devastating efficiency. Your father's construction business was destroyed through systematic client manipulation. Phone calls questioning his reliability, rumors about missed deadlines, financial incentives for clients to choose competitors. They created the conditions that made selling your house seem necessary. Every element of my family's recent hardships has been artificially created as part of an operation targeting me specifically. The helplessness I feel transforms into anger as I understand the depth of manipulation involved. What's the international scope? The classified materials taken from your residence contain security protocols for diplomatic summits in Geneva, Brussels, and Tokyo. 3 meetings involving sensitive negotiations between NATO allies and neutral nations. Director Hayes's expression grows grim. Those summits have been postponed indefinitely. International relationships worth billions of dollars in trade agreements are now in jeopardy. She reveals the operation's true ambition. The goal isn't just to turn me into a double agent, but to demonstrate that American intelligence personnel can be compromised through family pressure. Success with my case would provide a blueprint for targeting other operatives through emotional leverage, rather than traditional recruitment methods. Allied intelligence services are questioning whether Americans can be trusted with sensitive information if family pressure can compromise our operatives. Director Hayes shows me cables from British, German, and French intelligence agencies expressing concerns about future cooperation. The weight of international consequences settles on my shoulders. My parents' innocent attempt to help their son has inadvertently damaged America's intelligence relationships with crucial allies. There's more, Kerry. The operatives haven't vanished. They're still in the country and they've made a formal contact offer. She slides a secure phone across the table. They want to negotiate directly with you. They're offering to return all classified materials, withdraw permanently from American operations, and provide intelligence about other ongoing operations in exchange for 2 years of cooperation as a double agent. I stare at the phone, understanding that answering it means crossing a line from victim to participant in this international chess game. And my family's safety. They've made it clear your parents' well-being depends entirely on your cooperation. They have detailed knowledge of the federal protection protocols we're using and have demonstrated they can circumvent our security measures. Director Hayes leans forward, her expression intense. Kerry, I need you to understand something crucial. This offer isn't just about you anymore. Your decision affects ongoing operations worldwide, the safety of dozens of diplomatic personnel, and America's intelligence relationships with allied nations. The secure phone rings its electronic tone, cutting through the silence like an alarm. I know that answering will begin negotiations that could save my family, but destroy my country's security interests. Not answering condemns my parents to permanent danger and international hiding. What would you do? I asked Director Hayes. I'd look for a third option. You're one of our best operatives for a reason, Kerry. Maybe it's time to turn their psychological manipulation back against them. Instead of reaching for the secure phone, I push it back across the table toward Director Hayes. Ma'am, I need to brief you on something I haven't reported yet. Something that changes everything about this situation. Her eyebrows rise with interest and concern. What kind of something? 6 months ago in Prague, I suspected my cover was blown. Instead of reporting it immediately, I began running my own counterintelligence operation. I meet her surprised gaze directly. The Georgetown house was intentionally prepared as a trap. Director Hayes leans back in her chair, processing this revelation. Explain. The classified materials they stole aren't genuine. I planted false intelligence designed to expose their network and mislead their operations. Every document, every encrypted drive, every piece of supposedly sensitive information in that house was carefully crafted disinformation. I explained the months of preparation that began with subtle indications my identity was compromised. Instead of reporting the security breach, I transformed my residence into an elaborate counterintelligence operation. The diplomatic summit schedules are fabricated. The security protocols describe non-existent procedures. The operative identification lists contain names of fictional personnel. I pull out my personal encrypted device, showing Director Hayes files I've maintained separately from official systems. I've been running a false flag operation for 6 months. Her expression shifts from surprise to professional admiration. Kerry, this is either brilliant or the most serious breach of protocol in department history. Why didn't you report your suspicions through proper channels? Because I suspected the leak was internal. Someone with access to my operational reports and residential assignments. Reporting through normal channels would have alerted whoever was feeding information to hostile services. I reveal the evidence I've gathered pointing to compromised communications within our own systems, patterns in surveillance timing that suggest inside knowledge, details about my personal life that only colleagues with security clearance could access. Who do you suspect? I'm not certain yet, but the timing and specificity of information suggest someone with access to personnel files and operational schedules. I show her communications analysis I've conducted independently. 3 people had access to all the information used to target my family. Director Hayes activates additional security protocols, ensuring our conversation remains compartmentalized from normal communication channels. Show me what you've prepared. I outline the comprehensive false intelligence package I've created. Fake diplomatic negotiations in cities where no meetings are planned. Security procedures for facilities that don't exist. Communication frequencies that lead to monitored government lines rather than legitimate diplomatic channels. Every piece of information they've stolen will lead them into traps or expose their methods to our surveillance. I display carefully crafted documents that appear authentic but contain subtle indicators, allowing us to track their usage. Director Hayes studies my work with growing amazement. This level of preparation suggests months of planning. I've been preparing for this exact scenario since Prague. I knew they'd eventually target my family or residence. I just didn't expect my parents to accelerate the timeline by selling the house. The secure phone rings again, its persistent tone demanding attention. This time, Director Hayes answers. This is Director Hayes. Kerry Sullivan is currently in briefing and unavailable for negotiation. She listens to the response, her expression revealing nothing. We understand your offer. Kerry will respond when he's ready. After hanging up, she turns to me with renewed intensity. They're getting impatient. They want an answer within 6 hours, or they begin implementing the intelligence they believe they've obtained. Perfect. That gives us time to set the trap properly. I outline my plan for turning their psychological manipulation back against them. They think they understand my vulnerabilities, but they don't realize I've been studying their methods just as carefully. I explain how the false intelligence is designed to make them overconfident and expose their entire network. Each document contains tracking mechanisms that will reveal who accesses the information and how it's distributed. More importantly, acting on the false intelligence will expose their operational methods to allied intelligence services. Ma'am, I need permission to contact them directly and offer limited cooperation. Not to become a double agent, but to deliver more convincing false intelligence that will completely compromise their network. Director Hayes considers the proposal carefully. You're talking about an extremely dangerous operation. If they discover the deception, your family becomes expendable. They're already in danger. But this way, we control the timeline and the information flow. I show her additional preparations I've made. I've also been investigating the systematic destruction of my father's business. The evidence points to a larger operation targeting multiple government employees through family pressure. She examines documents proving coordinated attacks on family members of intelligence personnel. How many other families have been targeted? At least 12 in the DC metro area. Construction businesses, medical practices, small retail operations, all owned by relatives of State Department CIA or Defense Department employees. I reveal the pattern I've discovered through careful research. This isn't just about turning me. It's a pilot program for a new form of intelligence warfare. Director Hayes immediately understands the implications. If they succeed in proving family pressure can compromise American operatives, it becomes a blueprint for operations worldwide. Exactly. But if we turn their own methods against them and expose the entire network, we not only protect our personnel, but provide allied services with intelligence about new infiltration techniques. I propose using my family's situation as bait for a comprehensive counterintelligence operation that will expose and neutralize the entire network while protecting other targeted families. The false intelligence I planted is designed to trigger responses that will require them to contact handlers, access additional resources, and coordinate with other operatives. I show her communication intercepts I've prepared. Every action they take based on the false information will expose more of their network. Director Hayes makes her decision. Kerry, you have authorization to proceed, but with full departmental support and backup. This isn't a solo operation anymore. The secure phone rings a third time. This time I answer it myself. This is Kerry Sullivan. I'm ready to negotiate. The voice on the secure phone speaks with a slight accent. I can't immediately place professional and calm, despite the international chaos they've created. Mr. Sullivan, we're pleased you've decided to be reasonable. Your family's safety depends on your cooperation. I understand the terms. Before we proceed, I need assurance my parents are unharmed. I activate recording equipment Director Hayes has provided, ensuring every word of this conversation will be documented and analyzed. Your parents remain safe. They're currently at a federal facility, we believe. We have no interest in harming them if you cooperate fully. The operative's confidence suggests they're monitoring federal communication channels in real time. We require your agreement to provide information about upcoming diplomatic operations for 24 months. I choose my words carefully, creating the impression of reluctant cooperation while laying groundwork for the larger trap. 24 months is a long commitment. I need guarantees about my family's safety and evidence that you'll honor the agreement. We'll provide proof of our commitment when you provide proof of yours. We need current intelligence about the Brussels summit scheduled for February. Perfect. The Brussels summit is part of my fabricated intelligence package, a completely fictional meeting I've created with realistic but false details. Their request confirms they're operating based on the disinformation I planted. The Brussels summit was postponed after your operation compromised security, but I have access to the new schedule and location. I deliver convincing hesitation, as though revealing legitimate secrets. The meeting is being moved to Vienna with additional security protocols. I provide elaborate false details about non-existent security arrangements, fictional diplomatic personnel, and imaginary communication procedures. Every piece of information is designed to require their network to take actions that will expose their methods and personnel to our surveillance. Director Hayes monitors the conversation through secure headphones, occasionally providing guidance through written notes. Her expression shows professional admiration for how smoothly the deception proceeds. Mr. Sullivan, we'll need verification of this information before proceeding. Can you provide documentary evidence? I can access the files, but it requires returning to my office under the pretense of normal duties. The documents are stored in secure systems that require physical presence and biometric authentication. This is exactly what we want. Their request for documentation will require them to maintain contact while I lead them deeper into the counterintelligence operation. Very well. You have 12 hours to provide verification. We'll contact you with specific requirements for document transfer. After ending the call, Director Hayes immediately initiates the next phase of our operation. Kerry, we have teams in position to track any communication emanating from their location. Every contact they make exposes more of their network. I review the false intelligence package one more time, ensuring every detail will require verification actions that compromise their security. The fictional Vienna summit requires them to position operatives in a city where we have extensive allied intelligence support. The false security protocols will force them to attempt accessing communication channels we monitor continuously. Ma'am, what's the status on my parents? They're secure and being briefed on the situation. Your father is having difficulty accepting the international implications, but your mother understands the stakes involved. Director Hayes shows me video feed from the federal facility, where my parents wait under U.S. Marshal protection. I watch Dad pacing their secure room, his frustration evident in every gesture. Mom sits quietly on a simple bed, looking smaller and more fragile than I remember. The weight of what my career has cost them, and what it continues to demand, settles heavily on my shoulders. They deserve the truth about what we're attempting. After this operation concludes successfully, for now their safety requires they remain unaware of the specific details. Agent Williams joins us with updates from field teams monitoring the false intelligence I've provided. Kerry, they're already acting on the Vienna information. Operatives are being repositioned to Austria, and they've contacted local assets for surveillance support. Each action they take based on my false intelligence exposes more of their network to Allied intelligence services. Austrian authorities have been briefed and are tracking every contact and movement the operatives make in Vienna. The communication intercepts are producing excellent results, Agent Williams continues. We've identified at least 8 additional operatives across 3 countries, plus their main coordination center in Baltimore. The realization that enemy operatives have been directing attacks on American families from a location 90 minutes from Washington, D.C., intensifies my anger and determination. Are we ready for simultaneous arrests? Director Hayes checks her watch. International coordination requires precise timing. British, Austrian, and German authorities are positioning assets to arrest their operatives when we move against the Baltimore Center. I receive another call on the secure phone. This time the voice sounds stressed and impatient. Mr. Sullivan, we need the Vienna documents immediately. There have been complications requiring acceleration of our timeline. Complications means our false intelligence is working. Their operations are encountering problems that require them to take increasingly desperate actions. I can provide the documents, but I need assurance my parents will be released once you have what you need. I continue playing the role of a compromised operative, trying to protect his family. Your parents will be safe when our operations are complete. Provide the documents to the location we're sending you now. They give me an address in Baltimore exactly where our field teams expect their coordination center to be located. The trap is closing perfectly. I'll be there in 3 hours. Director Hayes assembles the complete operational team for final coordination. Kerry, you'll be wearing full surveillance equipment, and backup teams will maintain visual contact throughout the exchange. At your signal, we arrest everyone present and coordinate with international partners for simultaneous operations overseas. I suit up with communication equipment body armor, concealed beneath normal clothing, and tracking devices that ensure backup teams can locate me anywhere in Baltimore. The documents I'm carrying appear authentic, but contain additional tracking mechanisms that will expose anyone who handles them. The drive to Baltimore feels surreal, knowing that within hours, we'll either neutralize an international intelligence threat, or my family and I will be marked for permanent retaliation. The address leads to a commercial warehouse in an industrial area near the harbor. From the outside, it appears to be a legitimate shipping facility. But thermal imaging from our surveillance aircraft reveals multiple individuals inside using sophisticated communication equipment. As I park outside the warehouse, I realize this moment represents the culmination of 6 months of careful preparation and decades of training. Everything I've learned about counterintelligence, everything I believe about protecting American interests, depends on the next few hours. My phone buzzes with a final message from Director Hayes. Remember, Kerry, you're not just saving your family. You're protecting dozens of intelligence personnel and preventing a new form of warfare that threatens democratic societies worldwide. I walk toward the warehouse entrance carrying false documents that will either expose an international spy network or sign my family's death warrant. 6 months later, I stand in the completely renovated Georgetown townhouse, now legally and officially transferred to me as compensation for exceptional service to the United States government. The State Department has created new security protocols for protecting intelligence officers' families, inspired directly by my experience, and now implemented worldwide to prevent similar operations. My parents arrived from their new home in Colorado, where Dad's construction business has been fully restored and expanded with several federal contracts designed to compensate for the systematic sabotage they endured. Mom carries homemade cookies, and wears a smile that reaches her eyes for the first time in years. "Kerry, this place looks amazing," Mom says, examining the renovated kitchen, where granite countertops replace the institutional fixtures that once served visiting diplomats. "It actually feels like a home now." Dad runs his experienced hands along custom woodwork he installed during visits over the past few months. His construction expertise proved invaluable in transforming a sterile safe house into a warm family gathering place. More importantly, contributing to the renovation gave him purpose and pride after months of feeling helpless and confused. The operation that began with Christmas morning catastrophe concluded with the complete dismantling of an international intelligence network. Simultaneous arrests in Baltimore, Vienna, Prague, and London netted 26 operatives and exposed manipulation campaigns targeting intelligence personnel in 5 countries. Janet received a reduced sentence of 18 months in minimum security prison in exchange for her cooperation in identifying other compromised individuals. Her testimony led to the discovery that 12 additional families in the Washington area had been systematically targeted through financial pressure, medical emergencies, and business sabotage. The foreign operatives who purchased my house are serving federal sentences for espionage conspiracy and multiple violations of international law. More importantly, the false intelligence I provided led them to expose their entire network structure, allowing allied services to neutralize similar operations across Europe and North America. "Kerry, your mother has something to tell you," Dad says, his voice carrying pride and affection. "I haven't heard in years." Mom sits on the comfortable couch we selected together, her face glowing with news she's been saving for this moment. "I've been working with families of other intelligence personnel, helping them understand the hidden challenges of this kind of work. The State Department asked me to develop a support program for relatives who struggle with the secrecy and separation." Her transformation from victim to advocate represents the healing our entire family has experienced. Understanding the true nature of my work, rather than creating imaginary explanations for my distance, has allowed her to become a partner in protecting other families facing similar challenges. She's already helped 6 families navigate the adjustment process, Dad adds. "Turns out your mother has a gift for understanding complicated emotions and helping people find healthy ways to cope. I embrace them both, feeling the warmth of relationships rebuilt on truth rather than protective deception. The house that once represented the divide between my professional and personal lives has become the bridge connecting them." Director Hayes visits that evening for our monthly dinner, a tradition we established to ensure I maintain healthy work-life boundaries. Her presence in my family gathering symbolizes the integration of career and personal relationships I thought impossible. "Kerry, I have news about the international impact of your operation," she says, over Mom's famous lasagna, now prepared in a kitchen where classified conversations will never again be necessary. "Allied intelligence services have adopted your counterintelligence methodology for training programs worldwide. The techniques I developed for managing compromised cover and turning psychological manipulation back against hostile operatives are now taught at intelligence academies in 14 countries. My personal crisis has become a defensive tool, protecting democratic societies from a new form of warfare, targeting family relationships." Dad asks about my current assignments questions I can now answer honestly without violating security requirements. My new position allows me to work primarily from Washington, focusing on developing protective protocols, rather than overseas operations requiring family separation. I'm consulting with families before operatives take overseas assignments, helping them prepare for the challenges and maintain communication within security guidelines. I explain how my experience has shaped new policies prioritizing family stability alongside operational security. Mom beams with satisfaction. "So other families won't have to go through what we experienced." "That's the goal. Protect the families, protect the operatives, protect the country." As evening settles over Georgetown, we gather around the fireplace I never used when this was a safe house, but now provides warmth for family conversations. Dad has installed custom shelving, displaying photographs from throughout my life, images that were once security risks, but now celebrate the relationships that matter most. I raise a glass of wine from Dad's personal collection bottles he's been saving for special occasions. To family, to truth, and to never underestimating the power of fighting back when everything seems lost. The toast encompasses our journey from Christmas morning disaster to this moment of healing and hope. The house that was sold as abandoned property has become the foundation for stronger, more honest family relationships than we ever maintained when secrecy seemed necessary for protection. Looking at my parents comfortable and proud in the home they once unknowingly helped save from foreign intelligence operations, I understand that protecting the people we love sometimes requires trusting them with dangerous truths, rather than shielding them with comfortable lies. The Georgetown townhouse, once a symbol of my divided loyalties between career and family, now hosts Sunday dinners, where my work protecting American interests overseas provides conversation topics, rather than secrets requiring careful concealment. Mom has framed the letter of commendation I received from the president, displaying it prominently on the mantelpiece beside family photographs. Dad keeps a copy of the construction contract for his Colorado expansion project, his pride evident every time he mentions the federal work, helping rebuild other families affected by similar operations. As my parents prepare to return to Colorado tomorrow, I realize this house has become exactly what they wanted when they tried to sell it, a place where their son can build a life that includes them, rather than excludes them for their protection. The Christmas tree we'll decorate next month will shine in a home where love and truth coexist, where family relationships strengthen national security rather than threaten it, and where the lessons learned from our crisis continue protecting other families facing similar challenges. Have you ever had to choose between protecting someone and trusting them with a difficult truth? Sometimes the greatest gift we can give the people we love is faith in their strength to handle reality rather than comfortable deception. I'd love to hear your thoughts about balancing protection with honesty in family relationships. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe for more stories about finding strength in unexpected places, and share it with anyone who might benefit from hearing how families can overcome even the most impossible situations when they face them together. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember that the most powerful victories often come from the courage to trust the people who matter most. Until next time, may your own family relationships be built on truth, understanding, and the unshakable belief that love can overcome any challenge when we face it honestly and together.